Georgia is located in the South Caucasus, between the Black and Caspian Seas, bounded by Russia to the north, Turkey and Armenia to the south, and by Azerbaijan on the Caspian to the southeast. With a territory of almost 27,000 square miles, Georgia is only slightly larger than West Virginia. Over 50% of its population of some 5.5 million live in the rural areas, and its largest city is the capital, Tbilisi, with a population of around 1.2 million. Georgia became an independent state in 1991 after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and in the 2012 national parliamentary elections brought to power the Georgian Dream Democratic Georgia Coalition. The current Prime Minister, Irakli Garibashvili, is the first to govern under the new constitutional amendments, which turned the country into a parliamentary rather than a presidential republic. Mr. Garibashvili, who is 32 years old, is the second youngest state leader in the world.
And then we had the presidential elections, which was praised as free and fair and absolutely transparent. We had dozens of international observers, monitors, and so on, experts who said that this election was really unprecedented. Not only for our country, for Georgia, but also for the region. We have 6.2% growth, and Georgia is the 22nd freest economy in the world. And we're number 8 in the ease of doing business, according to the World Bank survey. And the business in Georgia is absolutely free, zero interference. And we have ensured the protection of private property and intellectual rights and so on, which didn't exist in our country just 2 years ago. Georgia's location is really important. Georgia is a very important corridor that connects east to the west and Caspian Sea to Turkey and to Europe and to Black Sea. And we are going to use this corridor, efficiently, more efficiently. The new Silk Road. Okay. As far as I know, the Chinese president is interested in this project because they want to build a railroad, and to get a container from China to Europe, this will take only 17 days. We signed this association agreement with the European Union because we made it very clear to the world that we Georgians want to become a member of the big European family. We simply want to be, to live as Europeans do in their country, because we really want to transform this country into a real European state. Last year, Russians installed artificial barriers, these barbed wire fences, along the occupation line, on our territory, on our ground. But see how we responded. We responded to it firmly but calmly and constructively, and we continued this dialogue. And this new approach is supported by our friends in the US, in the West in general, in the EU, because they see that today Georgia has a normal and predictable government.
We owe our independence. We owe our degree of development of our democracy. We owe our the welfare or degree of security to this friendship with the United States, and this is why we are closely watched by our neighbors. Joining NATO has long been Georgia's top foreign policy priority. I would say since late 90s, it has already become a priority in Georgia's foreign policy. And since then, Georgia has been making sometimes overt, sometimes covert, modest or more bolder steps to get closer to NATO. Georgia was included in this club of enhanced partners of NATO, which means that Georgia will have its say in certain frameworks and settings within NATO while discussing NATO operations or actions in these or different parts of the region. If we are going to become a member of NATO, this is not because we are against somebody. No, because we want peace. If we are going into the European Union, not because we want to first and foremost, trade with the European Union and not to trade with Russia? Of course not. This is not exclusive trajectories of our relationship with different partners. No, we are open to, although Georgia is a very small place, there is a room for everyone.
I think that currently Georgia is economically quite diversified. To believe that macroeconomic situation is stable. We have a very low budget deficit. Our balance of payments is quite stable. We decreased the deficit of the current account from 12 to 7%, so which was a very positive trend. There are two projects that are highest priorities for our ministry. First, it is capital market development. Then the second comes the insurance sector. And the capital market needs a serious overhaul of the complete legislation. Second highest priority for our ministry is a pension reform, which is closely related with the capital market reform. We have several large investors from the United States. We recently announced the expression of interest for investment in the deep sea port, the new port construction in Georgia, and two American consortiums expressed their interest. So I believe that this may be one additional chance for United States investors to start a major infrastructural investment in Georgia, because this port will be a multi-billion investment. The first phase is from 700 to 800 million US dollars. And we need this port because we have higher than 20% growth in the container shipments annually. If American company will be involved in here, and if there will be a chance to leverage on the interests of China, Central Asia, and our neighboring region with American investments, I think this will be a great opportunity for the country.
A partnership fund is the biggest fully owned fund in Georgia. Our asset is currently 3 billion USD. Capital of the fund includes major state enterprises like Georgian Railway Company, which is country's biggest state corporation, then Georgian Oil and Gas Corporation, GOGC, then Georgian State Electricity System, GC. We have generally two key functions. One of the management of those state assets belong to our capital, and the implementation of such financial projects where state has a priorities. In energy sector, in real estate, I mean hospitality sector, then agro businesses and manufacturing. We are here to promote private investors in our country, then provide them stable long-term equity and share investors' risks with our partners.
Since the new government, over 750 million Georgian lari has been invested in the sector of agriculture for the past 2 years. With the new approach, we are supporting the business to run the agriculture sector. We are co-financing. We already have 89 co-financed businesses that we are supporting in different fields. This could be winemaking, this could be any sort of import or export storage facilities, cold storage facilities, it could be farms, poultry, any direction. As you know, Georgia recently signed the association agreement and the DCFTA, the free trade agreement with Europe, and there are standards to be implemented. So this is like moving from post-Soviet standards into the European standards is quite a big challenge. So I would say this is probably one of the biggest priorities by now. So some Georgian companies already, they are exporting their goods into Europe. One of them, for instance, I will tell you, is Georgian honey. Georgian honey is considered to be one of the highest quality. I think we should go for organic production. I think this is something we could concentrate much more, because we have some natural areas in Georgia, mountainous areas, where this is much easier to have organic production and farming. We've already made some experiments, let's say, and so far it is very successful. I believe that 2020 is a date where we can have all the targets achieved, and probably majority of the import will be substituted by local production.
We are not only proud of having the longest winemaking history, we are proud of being cradle of wine and contributors of wine to world civilization. Technology itself of long maceration, like keeping juice on skin and seeds for 6 months, so long period, is already unique. Wines are taking polyphenols from skin and seeds, I mean antioxidants, and they are more resistant to oxidations. And this is actually the Georgian way of production wines. Probably other methods as well, but this is what is recognized by UNESCO as a unique, as an intangible heritage of world civilizations. We expect about 60 million export by the end of this year, so the value will be around $200 million US. Actually, we have an average 20% growth last 5 years.
Agricultural biodiversity and natural grasslands, which cover about 43% of the country's territory, are an integral part of Georgia's biodiversity. Highly specialized policies of the Soviet-planned economy and industrialization of agriculture resulted in the degradation of Georgia's agricultural ecosystems and the reduction of local plant and animal genetic resources important for food and agriculture. However, since the 2000s, a number of important initiatives, like the establishment of the Field Crop Gene Bank, have been implemented to improve the conservation status of Georgia's agricultural biodiversity, and we have initiated the revision of the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. Today, about 8.6% of the territory of Georgia is protected areas, nature reserves, national parks, etc. And there are already plans to increase protected areas to up to 13.05% of Georgia's territory. In spite of the fact that when people hear about Georgia, they may think of the instability frequently associated with the post-Soviet countries, the reality is that Georgia has undertaken deep reforms in the direction of becoming a fully fledged open economy. Georgia has now been attracting around $1 billion in foreign direct investment a year since 2011. As a result of several free trade agreements, Georgia now has duty-free access to a market of close to 1 billion people. The World Bank considers Georgia to be the 8th easiest country in the world to do business in. It is 22nd on the Heritage Foundation 2014 Index of Economic Freedom, and it has the 4th lowest tax burden in the world after Qatar, UAE and Hong Kong. There are no foreign exchange restrictions or capital controls, and 90% of import goods enter duty-free.
National Investment Agency is the governmental agency, and the main function is to attract foreign direct investments. So what we try to do, and what is our main mandate, to make the agency one-stop shop for investors. So we try to be in every steps of the investors during the procedure of investment in Georgia. Hydropower plant business is the segment actually of Georgia where a lot of interesting companies are investing. The second I would say is the tourism and all the business related to tourism, mainly real estate. There is the lack of the rooms actually in town, lack of the beds. The same goes to the Batumi right now, which is also the booming region, Rachara region of the country. We are developing Skaltubo in the middle of the country. This is the quite nice spa resort. We believe that we can have it a little bit better, even better than Baden-Baden or Karlovy Vary in Europe. Logistics is very important because of the geopolitical situation of Georgia. When we talk about the best roads in logistics, it's all about the price security and time. That's why we invest a lot in infrastructure. We are going to have two new projects. One is finishing in 2016, which is Baku-Kars Akhalkalaki Railway. This is a railway line between Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey. Technically, after finishing of this project, we can send the goods and the people also to Europe through railway, which is almost not possible right now. They measure the customs clearance, and yes, we do the customs clearance faster than in Europe. That's a fact. They measure the registration of the company, and we do the registration of the company in 1 day. They measure the registration of assets, and we actually are #1 in the world.
Georgian Co-Investment Fund was created just over a year ago with the main goal to attract foreign investment, interesting and growing sectors of Georgian economy. So the main 4 sectors that we are focused on is the energy, manufacturing, hospitality, and agriculture. But we are not only prohibited to investing in other sectors as well. For example, we recently did a very interesting data center investment, which we built in the city nearby Tbilisi, and it would be the world's largest Bitcoin processing facility. And they were able to build a data center in Georgia from scratch in 45 days. In all the other countries, it takes them 6 months. That's how easy it is to do business in Georgia. And right now I can already reveal that we are working on a project to create Tbilisi Technopolis, which will attract the data centers, including from the Bitcoin community as well as from all different kinds of the data centers.
Georgia today imports 75 to 80% of its energy requirements, mostly gas and petroleum-related products. However, in the area of hydropower, it's a different story, since Georgia has the hydro resources to easily become self-sustaining and then a net exporter of electricity to its neighbouring countries. One of the government's key priorities is to attract foreign investment into the sector to further develop these resources. The Ministry of Energy and the Energy Development Fund, created to attract foreign investment into the sector, are also interested in strengthening other areas of clean energy production, such as wind, aeolic, and solar energy, and also the upgrading of the country's few thermal plants to make them more efficient and less polluting.
First and foremost, I'd like to highlight the fact that energy sector is #1 priority for our government. It is a leading sector, and we're doing our very most to utilize those resources which are at our disposal, those vast hydro resources, in order to achieve energy sustainability. Currently, Georgia has a dependence on imported energy, and I'm not talking about just electricity. This includes gas and oil. Roughly about 75% we depend on import. And our top priority is to bring investment in order to build on that resource, which we have, hydro resources, to achieve not only sustainability from our side, but also to achieve export through Turkey to European countries. Georgia has 22,000 rivers. Out of those 22,000, there are some 300 which can be utilized to build hydropower plants. And this is the resource which we are promoting in order to achieve full sustainability of energy sector and electricity generation, and then export also through Turkey to other countries. Alternative sources of green energy such as wind and solar. And right now we have a economic growth of 5 to 6%. We're hoping to double that in the nearest future and have 2 digits of growth. But this will be a very tough challenge, and of course this challenge will not be completed without energy and energy supply. As far as it goes for American companies, of course, the U.S. is our strategic partner through USAID for past 20 years. There has been numerous projects and numerous grants which has been given out to rehabilitate the sector, and we're very thankful for that, and we hope in the future this will continue.
Georgian Energy Development Fund, as you may know, is state-owned fully. The main idea behind the fund is to promote and to develop and to invest in energy sector of Georgia. The main idea is when the risks are high, the risk associated with the early project phases, we remove these risks, we reduce them. We have initiated thousands of megawatt projects recently. For the first time, we developed the wind farm concept in Georgia that very soon will be realized. We also working with the large hydropower plants, also recently initiated the new thermal power plant, gas-fired, clean technology. The wind is interesting today in Georgia. It's a very prosperous technology, and I think that our project in Gori is quite successful.
So we buy gas from different sources outside Georgia because we don't have enough production of natural gas in Georgia. We have 4 contracts with different companies in different countries, and then we deliver this gas to Georgia and then supply to electricity generation or to distribution companies. This is one of our main functions. Europe needs additional source of energy, and they want to reduce their dependency on Russian gas supplies. That's why there are some interesting initiatives and projects how this gas can be delivered from the Caspian to Europe. So this is a global issue, and there are some proposed solutions to this problem. One of them is the construction of the Trans-Caspian pipeline from Turkmenistan through Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey. This South Caucasus pipeline has been built and it's operational for 7 or 8 years now, maybe less. And this year there was a decision made that the pipeline will be expanded up to 22 billion cubic meter of capacity. That means that at least 10 billion cubic meter of gas will be supplied to Europe. But that's not enough for Europe's energy security. They need more, 30, 60 million.
Georgia is becoming known as an international transport and logistics corridor, since it is the best land route for two-way commerce between Europe and Turkey and the Far East, China, Kazakhstan, etc. This route is the most competitive when compared with the alternative northern or southern routes. The government is currently carrying out extensive upgrading of roads and bridges and constructing new high-speed highways to facilitate cross-country travel. Due to the tremendous growth in demand for Black Sea shipping, the Georgian government is now negotiating with potential investors who will build Georgia's first deep-water port on the Black Sea. In the matter of railways, Georgian Railway will soon start operating the new Baku-Tbilisi-Kars Railway, which will connect Azerbaijan, Georgia and Turkey. It is also investing in other projects to enhance this new Silk Road. Container infrastructure in Kazakhstan and a Black Sea ferry company that will carry merchandise to Constanta for transshipment to Western Europe.
Georgian Railway is a state-owned company, and we are one of the largest employers and one of the largest taxpayers in this country. The total length of our railway is more than 1,300 kilometers. Generally, the vision which used to be in Georgia in maybe 10 or 15 years ago, it was that the railway business is only about delivering the cargo from the Black Sea to the border with Azerbaijan or the border with Armenia, and that's all, full stop. And we have the different vision. We mean to sell a corridor, not only the distance between the Black Sea to the border of Azerbaijan, but generally the corridor from China to Europe, to Danube Canal, to Turkey, etc. So to accommodate the cargo owners to pass this route in a most comfortable way.
Georgia has long been a well-known holiday destination for citizens of Eastern Europe and the former Soviet Union, who came for its beautiful Caucasus mountain range, reminiscent of the Alps, the Black Sea beaches, hot springs, and its excellent cuisine and wine. But now, the Georgian government and its National Tourism Agency are reaching out to open up new markets as part of their objective to make tourism one of the pillars of economic growth. Indeed, the sector is already growing very quickly. Last year, they had over 5 million visitors, of which 37% was recreational, and they plan to triple the number of arrivals during the next few years.
We have 103 resorts and 182 resort areas in Georgia. Tbilisi is the second capital that has natural spas and sulfur baths after Budapest. We have numerous types of resorts that can help with numerous health problems. Of course, there we have the highest settled point in Europe, Uşkuli. We also have different ski resorts with the possibility of heli-skiing. It's one of the cheapest in Europe and with Canadian safety norms. As maybe a lot of Americans know, Georgia is named as the cradle of wine. We have more than 500 indigenous grape varieties. So maybe the capital, the mountains, the wine region are the main parts to see. Of course, the Black Sea also. The main investment sectors are hotel industry and the gambling industry. At this point in Georgia, we have around 38,000 beds, and in Tbilisi we have up to 7,000 beds. Unfortunately, this is not enough.